kid.
How are you, Jason?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm just getting through this quarantine.
Getting through the quarantine. Yeah, right now while this is being filmed, we're in the middle of COVID-19. What have you been doing at home?
Honestly, I have been just working around the house. I have been writing music. I've been drawing, and I've been exercising. Keeping myself moving.
Oh, that's awesome. For people, hey, how old are you, Chandler? Just so the world
Uh,
knows.
I am 17 currently, but I'm going to be 18 on February 12th.
Well, happy birthday in advance. Remind me to send you a card. I'm not good at
That's
that.
all right, man. Believe me.
All right. Well, great. Today and on the show, generally what we talk about is how God is awesome in our lives. And you have been a part of Sunlight Christian Academy. And
For
that
15 years.
for 15 years. Tell me, how did you get involved with the church and how did God really start working in your life?
Okay, so let's go back in time all the way to 2006, right?
Yes.
This was when Sunlight Christian Academy just started. And it wasn't even Sunlight Community Church, it was just Sunlight Christian Academy. And it was just this little school, like the big buildings you see today didn't even exist. And when the school first started, there was only 2 classrooms. I repeat, 2 classrooms only, and just 2 teachers. And you know what? I actually have a surprise for you, Jason, because what I have with me is, you want to see a surprise?
I do.
This is an original Sunlight t-shirt that came all the way back from 2006. It was mine when they first opened, and I was actually in one of the first classes they ever had.
Do you still wear the shirt?
No, it cannot fit me. I try to put it on, but I think I grew a little bit. Don't you think?
12 years.
Yes.
Good.
And
cool.
Another thing is, I was in there from 2006 to 2008, and when I left, the principal, Miss Sarah Wilson Hyde, she went to my mother, Miss Roseanne. I am the son of the legendary Miss Roseanne.
The son of the legendary Miss Roseanne. I love that.
Yes, sir. And she went to her and said, "Do you want a job?" My mom was thinking about it, and she said yes. So she started working there, and in 2010, they were doing these summer camp thing where older kids come in, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Maybe it's time to go back. So I went back, and from 2008 to 2010, a lot has changed. This is when, the big buildings are coming in. This is when new teachers were coming in, and I'm meeting a bunch of new people, and it was like the new era of Sunlight was starting up. So I came back in 2010, went to the summer camp for a lot of years. I have seen every Signal activity you guys have done, from the Bible, I forgot the name of it, all the Bible programs, and trying to remember the names. I cannot even remember these names. It's been so long.
You know what? Most people that are watching are not necessarily even from this area, so they might not even know about when the big buildings are, what the names of them are. You could literally make it up, and many people would not be able to correct you. So
that's exactly right. But you know what? I wouldn't want to make it up because I want people to know the truth about Sunlight. And in my opinion, it's actually a little better today because it brings more people involved, and it's got so much media nowadays. Like back in the day, a lot of people did not know about Sunlight, and there was not as much people involved back then as there is today.
Sure.
And that's what amazes me most. A little preschool turned into a national phenomenon in just a couple of years.
Well, let me ask you a question. How did going to that school or being involved with school, your mom working there, how did that affect you? What sort of things would you say that you have a relationship and that started through the school with Tell me
Yes.
about that.
Speaking of my relationship, we actually turned 8 months just 3 days ago.
Okay, I was actually talking that. Congratulations. What's her name?
Megan.
Oh, awesome. Well, congratulations, Megan. What a catch that you held on to here. What I was actually talking about is your relationship with God. Did you get that going through the school? Did it all of a sudden happen before that? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. This is where this conversation gets deep because
Okay.
I have been through a lot of things in my life, and I have seen a lot of, horrible
Hmm.
current events. And there were times when I even had doubts in myself, and there were times when I was like going through phases. You know how teenagers are
Sure.
when I was going through those phases, and it was very hard for me to stay true to myself when a lot was going on around me, going through high school, middle school, sunlight, meeting all these different people, trying to blend in with the crowd, which you should never do, by the way. Always be your true self. But God has been with me because you know what? Here I am still today, and I could be somewhere totally else. Like, I don't even know, because if I don't stay true to my regular self and just blend in with the crowd being someone I'm totally not, my life is going to get very screwed up. And I think that's where I think I should thank God the most, because he provided me with courage, believance, self-respect, and a lot less pressure.
Yeah. Well, tell me why. Or let me put it in a different way. So there are kids and young adults like yourself, 17, that might be watching. And I guess it's probably really hard, you would say, to not just go into whatever society says and just do that. Do you feel like that pressure all the time to just, be who everyone else wants you to be?
Yes, because you know what? I mean, picture this. You're in a crowd, everyone is acting out a certain character, and now
Hmm.
they're starting to pick on you and leave you out because you know what? You look different, you talk different, you even sound different. I mean, they will make fun of you because of clothes, of just so much things that doesn't even really matter, and it brings the pressure. And it's just the worst.
Well, I really love that because I feel like not only is it with like bullying and kids trying to fit you into a box in school, but I think even with adults, there's so much pressure. There's this expression, keeping up with the Joneses, where you think you have to do so much or have the nicest house or the nicest car because that's what society wants. And it's almost like you get stuck in this rut, and I feel like that maybe even started, in high school. Would you agree?
Honestly, no, it started in middle school
Oh, even better.
because
Yeah.
yeah, middle school it's not as personal as high school, but when you go into middle school, that's when everybody has an expectation of you.
Huh.
Like, let's say I'm wearing a certain sneaker and nobody likes it, they're definitely going to call you out for something like that. The difference between middle school and high school, they're just going to there's always going to be a bunch of groups. Like, for example, you got ghetto kids, you got goth kids, you got good kids, you got popular kids. And if you don't blend in, they're going to call you out just for something like that.
Yeah, you almost feel like a need to fit into their group that have already been established. So how do you deal with that?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a true story.
Great.
This is how I just started being me in high school. I do music. I write
Awesome.
songs on YouTube and I write songs on SoundCloud. And I'm figuring, you know what? If I'm going to make any sort of impact doing anything and just getting a little respect from anybody, I think I'm going to do it my way and not what anybody expects from me. So I started doing music, and I started showing a lot of people. In the beginning, they hated it, but over time, when I actually started working harder and harder and putting much more effort into it, people started to like it.
Yeah. So in your real life, sometimes being different, even though they're trying to smash you into a peg, the only way that you could, get out of that is just to be true to who you are, and you feel like, have you felt like God has really helped you to identify, and even being a
Oh,
Christian, like it's hard.
absolutely. Absolutely, because you know what? Let me tell you something. It is way harder to be the good guy than it is to be the bad guy. Because
What do you mean by that?
you know how the Bible has rules, right?
Okay.
And it's got the 10 Commandments. But did God say it was going to be easy following those 10 Commandments? No, he didn't. He just said, listen, here's the rules, you're going to do them. That's it. And some people will follow them, some people will not. It's a matter of choices. But as long as people just keep on believing and keep praying and keep on crying, they're going to work out.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like, some of the point of all those rules, you see the Ten Commandments as an example. It's like a guideline of how to respond to the truth that we don't meet them, right? That only by Jesus, only his perfect life, do we even have a chance, because every day we put things before God, whether it's our family, whether, like you said, it's people's opinion. We're constantly in this problem called sin, but the fact is, we have this roadmap of, now that we're changed through Christ, how to respond, which we can do through God working through us. That's pretty awesome.
Jason, I can tell you, I have been called every dirty name in the book, but the only thought that I had in the back of my head, like every single time I got picked on those days, was there's only one person that can judge me, and that's him upstairs.
Yeah, exactly. That's so good, because at the end of the day, the only person whose opinion matters is the person who dictates your eternity, right?
Yeah, and you know how I found out that result? Is because, let me tell you this.
Okay.
The people that were bullying me, that was in like my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. I'm going to be a senior for my 2021 year, right?
Awesome.
And I'm always thinking, the people that used to mess with me back then and always got in trouble a lot, I'm on my way to Indian River State College. Where are they going?
Well, so you have this, like, that regardless of what anybody says, you've got this gift, this blessing of being able to go. You're going to college. You've got this path.
Yes.
So did you get accepted there already, or that's where you're going?
That's where I know I'm going. I already signed in for music.
What you're going for music?
Yes.
Awesome. What kind of music do you write? I mean, you don't have to give. I'm not asking for a sample, but just what kind of style?
Very rarely do I sing, because I think I have like a horrible singing voice, but I usually write a lot of hip-hop music.
Like pop music kind of stuff?
Hip-hop music, like rap music.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yes.
I missed the hip part, and that is a very extreme difference in genre.
But here's the thing. You know what's the difference between me and a lot of other rap artists?
What's that?
I don't swear.
Oh, so you're trying to, like, even in the midst of your music, try to honor God. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I make songs about him.
Oh, that's awesome. So that's one way that you worship, right? Is just through,
yes,
and I don't know about you, but I actually used to write music. I don't know if you ever knew that, but and in the midst
we can do
of
a collaboration one day.
Well, I stopped for a reason. I'm not maybe as talented as you are, but I will tell you this: in the midst of the like coming up with lyrics, I feel like sometimes it's like it's really, really hard, and then sometimes all of a sudden there's just this, especially because I used to write Christian music, so there's this like wave of like inspiration that doesn't come from you. Have you ever experienced that?
I mean, sometimes, but really how I write my lyrics is, I outsource. And I always write about what's truth. I never tell a lie in any of my songs. Like, I always talk about, like, something bad that may have happened last week or last year or something that's always on my mind. Writing lyrics is just a way of getting things off your chest. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. I love that. So that is a really good example of just like using the gifts you've been given in a creative way.
Like, let me ask you a question.
Shoot.
What bad things like have happened to you like weekend? Like something small.
Something small that happened.
Like,
Boy,
have you dropped like a dish and it broke on the floor or something?
I have done that.
You can write about that. Write about how it upsets you. There you go.
Okay. That's good. So you use that as an outlet. What are some other ways that you feel like you talked about being yourself in the midst, and there's this idea that we're supposed to be a light on a hill or be in the world but not of the world. What are some other things that you really are passionate about that maybe makes you a little bit different from other people?
I have respect for everybody that goes by me. Like, oh, the difference between me and a lot of other kids is they're going to judge every single person that goes by. That's not me. Like, I will only judge you for your character, for the way you treat others, and just for who you actually are. Like, if you're
Why?
someone that's going to be rude to me, I won't like it. But if you're someone that's respectful, you're automatically my friend.
Yeah. Why? I mean, here's the question. So there's a lot of people that maybe are in your boat that don't believe in God, and then but they have a similar thought, like, hey, maybe if people are nice to me, I'll be nice to them. If people are mean to them, I'll be mean to them. Like, I guess you have God, but why would anybody be nice to anyone if there is no God?
Because they want to earn respect from others and they want to show of good character and they just want to show out there on purpose and I guess stand out but in the most unnormal way because they don't believe in God. I actually find it very weird myself, but you know what?
It's just kind of an interesting thing because really,
It's very weird.
yeah, there's this idea that, like, if there's a higher power, right, and there's this higher power that is involved in my life, well, then it makes sense to be nice to people. But because what you're doing is you're responding to the grace you've been given. However, if there is no God, I guess the only reason why you'd want to do that, you said it perfectly, it's for their own, like, their own,
Gratification.
right, their own glorification, because at the end of the day, there's either a God or your God, right? There's only two options, right? And so I guess you'd want to be able to win favor with people. Makes me think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But you think that you're nice to people because you're responding to the truth that, God has done something nice for you and shown you through Christ and his life, this example of how to love people. So as a response, that's how I'm going to respond. That's how I was taught. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it's just who I am. I'm just Chandler. I'm not a thug. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a bad person. I'm just Chandler, and that's who I will always be, and nobody can take that from me.
Yeah. What's interesting is we're all essentially in need of a savior, but then we can be remade into something new. I love that you know who that is and who God has formed you to be. That's really
Well, you know
cool.
what? In all honesty, my high school centennial, that's the place where I was challenged by God the most. I think that was
Sure.
his most challenging test.
Tell me about that.
Okay, so this is where all the pressure and stuff starts because I go to freshman year, and let's just say it's my first day. Every single person is looking at me, and I get called names that I've been never called in my life, and I can't even say it. So, um, I don't even know anybody. I knew one person there who lived in my community because thank God she comforted me and gave me a little tour of the place because we have a lot more privileges than you do in middle school.
Yeah.
And in Centennial, this hurts the most, but I have had a lot of fake friends. And by fake friends, I mean people that are just plain backstabbers. It's as simple as that. Like, they'll be a friend, but they'll use you. They'll try to get you in trouble in any sort of way just for their own advantages. It's a very sick world that I've lived in.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people have felt the way that you feel.
Like, and even the campus, like some of the things that I've seen happen to other people, it's just not even fair. And you know what? Hey, I'll just say it. I've seen people get beaten up, name called, spit at. It is possibly the worst thing. And sometimes I even wonder, why does God even allow this? But it's all for the test.
So that's a great question. A lot of people have that question. And it's interesting because it's generally this question of about the existence of God too. So people bring up this question: if there is a loving God, as an example, why would even this virus exist?
Well, I know the answer to that, and
cool,
my grandmother told me this. It's because we have worshipped people like gods, and we have taken so much advantage of this world, and like, in truth, we kicked God out of the classrooms. Like, I had a teacher at one time that was making fun of prayer in my science class, and it was not funny to me at all. I wanted to walk out. And you know what? God's mad at us because, look, there's all this stuff on the internet and everything. I mean, you got all this music that talks about the worst possible topics, and yes, I know I listen to it, stupid me, but there's all this stuff out there, and the more we keep taking advantage, the more God is not going to have a smile on his face.
Well, it's interesting because I've found something. I really like the idea you're talking about how God is even involved in things like this, because I've seen, like, even you being on this podcast, God is doing some pretty awesome things. Other 17-year-olds are now stuck inside, maybe listening and saying, hey, maybe I need to rethink. Maybe I need to take this time. So I think that even in the midst of this and in the midst of our human sin, God is still working for the good of those he loves, not necessarily always in the way that we expect. So I mean, God can be working through you right now. I think that's great. I think he is.
He always has been, and I already know that he has not been happy with some of the things because I have a lot of regrets because of some poor decisions I make. I mean, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm just a normal human being like everybody else.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I could say that my decisions were a lot poorer than others, but you know what? I just keep praying. I went to my confessions, and every day I just wake up saying, you know what? I'm going to make it I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to be the best person I can be. That's all you can do.
Yeah, so the craziest thing, we talked a lot about identity. And the craziest thing, and I just want to encourage you, is this, that, we're wrapped in the perfect life of Jesus. And when God looks at us, because of the fact that we say, hey, look, we know we're broken. We know we're not perfect. We know that we are sinners. But when we say, Jesus, please, you're my only way, you're my only hope. When that happens, it doesn't mean that all of those things, we forget them. What it does mean is that God is seeing you through a different lens. Just like you're wearing glasses that changes the vision, Christ in our life changes the way that God looks at you, changes and gives a different image than what our lives have done. And we have this chance to do what you're doing and say, hey, look, I want to respond to the grace I've been given by living differently, by being a light on a hill, by a city on a hill.
Basically, you're saying, like, being a leader and showing what's right to even others, because like you're saying, there is a lot of people that don't even get it. And when I look at centennials, sometimes I'm ashamed because let me tell you a story.
Sure.
There are events like I was in ROTC for 2 years now. I'm in theater for 2 years, and my mother, she will come in to just come into some of the events that we have for the public. And guess what? I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to even bring my mom to the school because I mean, what do I got to present? All these kids that don't even have a clue. I mean, I want to show my mom the best of what I can present, not just, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think what's interesting about what you're saying is that you're acknowledging that at your school, there's a lot of people that you could have a dramatic impact just by, showing. Because here's the deal: at a point in everyone's life, they're clueless. Just because
I've been there.
yeah, exactly. And I think that the problem with Christianity is that sometimes we think of ourselves as different or better now, but it's the opposite. It's just different points on a number line. And so you have the opportunity to be a part of what God is doing in your school. And I think that's awesome.
You know what? I mean, I would just pray to God that the Centen kids turn out okay, because some of them, I even know that they're in jail right now. Some of them have been arrested in like past couple of weeks, and I just hope that one day they all can just see, and they probably won't. And but I'm just hoping they could see just a little something of the light, and not just live in this whole darkness area that they all bring, because the things that I've seen in there, I'm just traumatized.
Well, I love what you just said about that you hope that they can see a little bit of that light. And I just want to encourage you because you're there. You are that light. And
well,
so
here's the thing.
You and other people like you. Go ahead.
Remember, Jesus tried to do that. They hanged him on a cross. And when I tried to do that to other people, they spit in my face. And they tell me the bad language. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a spot in the Bible that says that Jesus is speaking. He says, remember, if the world hates you, that it hated me first. And so I think we're not called to live a life that's always easy, but a life of loving people. And you can't do that by just crossing your fingers and hoping that everything goes well, but instead by being right. That light. Hey, we're out of time here. I just want to end with one last question. Why would you sum up? And first of all, thank you so much. There's so many other people that are your age that need to hear the idea that, for example, what you said about identity, to be true to who you are in Christ. I love that. And I think you bring a really unique perspective, and I just want to encourage you. But before we leave, tell me one thing. Tell me why God is awesome, and that's how we'll close.
Because he got me through all the dark days, and he brought me back.
That's awesome. Well, Chandler, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so thankful.
Sir, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for being a part of our school here, Sunlight Christian Academy. Your mom is awesome.
15 years, man.
15 years. Well, thank you.
And guess what?
What's that?
Before we end, I just want to tell you, it's not stopping there.
We're not stopping.
Keep going.
God's doing some awesome stuff through that school, and you're a great example of that. Thank you again, and remember, between now and next time, that God is awesome. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you, sir.